What's up, guys? It's your boy, Carl Samani. We're back again with Elite Insights. Today, we're going a little bit off script again as we led with this. We're meeting with folks that generally we work with, doing galas and things like that, and just bringing in some of those insights so other folks that are throwing those events can learn some tips and tricks and best practices, and folks on the technical side can also, get some value of it as well. But today, this is like a triple hitter because it's one, we're going to be dropping knowledge, but we got some stories for you because it's someone that I go way, way back with. Bringing it to the studio, my guy, Omari Salisbury. Woo!
Hey, it's good to be here, man.
Man, it's great to be here. For some of you folks that don't know, I was on your episode too.
The Morning Update Show. That was 5 years ago. I think it was March 24th or March 26th, 2020, when we launched the Morning Update Show and in Black Dot in the Central
Studio.
District.
Shout out. So we just had Curtis in here yesterday, or the last episode. And here we are, episode 2 with Elite Insights. So again, I had to call you down. Like, man, I know you're the busiest guy in downtown Seattle, but it's like, man, can you make your way through it? And you made time for me, and I appreciate that.
Never too busy for you and for people who might not know that Carlos the Elite Collective is actually represented on the wall in our studio, in the Black Media Matters studio. We call them the A1 from Day One crew.
Yeah, no, it's an honor to be in there and to be a part of that legacy. As I'm kind of figuring out how I want to conduct these conversations and stuff, I've been kind of going through. I had my business plan, and we're going to do this to optimize it. I was like, you know what? Let me throw a little bit of that to the side. And I really just want to talk to my people. I want to talk to folks that inspire me, folks that are in my camp, folks that are in my community, folks that are just in my extended village. That's like, man, I want to create a platform and an avenue, one, for you guys to get your flowers and let folks love on you, because a lot of times we be too busy and moving on to the next one and ain't really out here for the clout. But it's like, man, you inspired me, so I was like, this is my show. I can give you some clout if I want to. But that's kind of like the purpose and the direction I wanted to go with this show. Definitely can drop some jewels and give some people some value, but really just kind of create that space, man. So again, appreciate for you being here.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is episode 2. I feel honored. I'm an early guest here. I might feel some kind of way if I was guest 47 or something. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. So as I, again, trying to navigate and how I want to work through this, I think it's kind of cool to level set and let folks know, one, no matter where you're at, today's a great day to start, right? If it's a business, both of us are kings of the pivot, figuring things out. But I want to kind of start with, how did you first, meet or hear about or come into interaction with Carlos Imani?
First and foremost, been knowing you a long time. I can't even actually put a date or years on it. I bumped into you, so to speak, because you used to do photography at cspot.com. And cspot.com, owned by my brother, Shakundi Salisbury, Love. And for a long, long time, C-Spot was the online destination for really the urban Pacific Northwest. And you were a lead photographer over there at C-Spot. And something that seems so normal and easy today, especially when people actually have high quality cameras in their phone,
right?
The accessibility of photos. But man, back then, that was a big deal to have photography at an event. And, there wasn't just, let me just put this on Instagram or Facebook and everything else. It really took people like yourself who had a passion for the craft. You go out, have to get there early. You usually have to haggle with security or somebody to set up, be able to take photos, and then after the photos, come back, edit the photos. Internet wasn't fast like it is right now and everything else. And you would put out photos on C-Spot from events happening all over the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it was crazy to think about in that sense, like you were saying, where how easy it is these days. And I came into photography at an interesting time where my first camera was actually a digital camera. And this is 2000. right? Where it was like just coming into as like a credible technology that could actually be used. And my mom was actually one of the first ones to invest in me. It was a Sony Mavica that wrote on this mini CDs. And that was like the thing. It was kind of cool though. You could take the picture, you had this CD, and then you could put it in your CD player in your computer and look at that. And ended up moving on to, I think it was a 718, and then of the Sony sticks. That was a cool thing. Then you could put that, well, it had a dual purpose. One, you could put it into your computer directly, but then you could also put it into an HP printer and print them. And that was kind of like my side hustle when I was at the clubs, where capture all the stuff, but at the same time, I'll print this out and sell you a 5x7 or an 8x10 that took 10 minutes. And it was just a different time, man.
So when I was in college, my first kind of run with all of this is I was on the radio station WRVS 89.9 ECSU.
Let's go.
And
Go Vikings.
Exactly. And so, covering sports and everything else. And Real Networks was here in Seattle. And Kun was always, ahead of the curve. And Kun was telling me how he could do streaming, right? This was in the late 90s, early 2000s. And when you talk about that Sony camera, you had the one that had the little CD. I had the one that had the disc, the little square disc in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could record up to 1 minute of video. And so, like, you had it, and you imagine doing press conferences and things like that, covering, like, coaches and players, man. And you had to, like, preface the question perfectly, and anticipating, like, the perfect answer, because you only had 1 minute. No,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, no matter what. And you take that disc and put it in the computer, bro. And then, upload, and then Kun would, put whatever the magic real networks had. And so, believe it or not, the sports information department at Elizabeth City State University was one of the first, definitely in that part of America, to actually have like streaming video, post game, all kinds of stuff, everything like that. And this was 27 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That's when me and my brother Cunning hooked up. We had the website pumping, all the sports clips, everything. You know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is I'm totally dating myself. But, and actually back then, so if I could share this with you,
Absolutely.
this is actually how I really like got on, right? Is that so I was at WRVS, but I was studying geology, and I actually have a degree in geology and a minor in environmental science. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Geology rocks, bro. But it was a hobby. Radio was a hobby. I graduated, I was working at the environmental research lab, and the university had let me go for a week to cover the CIAA tournament, for radio and everything else. And I'm going down there to the Lawrence Stroll Memorial Coliseum in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, with a big desktop computer, a big old monitor. I got to bring the whole setup, right?
Okay.
And so I got my whole little area set up. I got my camera, my floppy disk, all this kind of stuff, man. And who's in the media room is a producer, Daddy O. And Daddy O just came off producing a lot of hits for Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, and he's over there with Hoops TV. Now, Hoops TV is owned by And1. People might remember the And1 mixtapes, all that kind of stuff, right? And so we're back there in the media room, and everybody's like, sees Daddy O, and they're all over him. They're giving him resumes and all kinds of stuff the whole time. And, I'm like, hey, Daddy O, nice to meet you, whatever. I'm on my computer, my game stories, this and that, just locked in. I know at the end of the week, I'm going to go back to being a geologist full-time in environmental research lab. And the last day of the CIAA tournament, Daddy O came up to me. He's like, yo, Omari, hey, like, you the only one who wasn't like, trying to give me a resume or do this and that. I said, no, man, I'm a geologist, man. I love this radio. I'm having fun. But I said, I just graduated a degree in geology. I work in an environmental research lab. He was like, yo, man, I want to set up a meeting for you, though. I want you to go to New York and meet my man Nooch, Mike Antonoro, who went on from And1 and Hoops TV to ESPN and a few other places. And I was like, man, okay, cool. And so I fly from North Carolina to New York. I meet Mike Antonoro, and in one day, that one day I went from being a geologist to a TV producer and a journalist. I was already, in the journalism space for a long time. But yeah, just that one, like when people say one thing turning your career, but my mama always told me, she says, son, you never know who's watching. Give your best every day. And so me just sitting there at the CIAA tournament all those years ago, just locked in, doing my thing. And here's Daddy-O, you know what I'm saying? He was the original member of Stetsasonic, by the way, too. No. And here's Daddy-O watching me the whole time, and I didn't even realize it. And that interaction changed my whole life and my whole career. And I got hired by Hoops TV and actually worked on, it was the best job ever. You could appreciate this. They gave me an American Express card and a new Canon XL1 or GL1 and said, go across America and bring back great basketball stories. And for like 2 years, big cities, small towns, NBA finals, Sweet 16s, March Madness, everything, all across the country. And I even worked on Ball Above All because I was on tour with the Rucker Park players for like 2 years when they were on tour as well. So, I mean, it changed my whole career trajectory. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was happy with the idea of being a geologist the rest of my life, you know what I'm saying? And living in northeastern North Carolina in a small town in Elizabeth City, just going there, following my passion. I had a job. My passion was just in radio and in media. And like I said, Cum was up here taking the clips and streaming them. So we were innovative with it and everything else. It changed my career trajectory. Like I said, you never know who's watching. That's why it's important. Do what you love, man. Absolutely. Do what you can. Show up for a great every day when you know or you feel no one's watching. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Be the very best you can be.
No, that's so true. And just back to that C-spot space, that's kind of, I approached it without thinking about it, but it's kind of my way of just being out. Like you said, it's like you got to get there early. You got to, handle your business because it was just kind of this thing where I wanted to be best. I was unproven, right? I wasn't like these other photographers that have been shooting forever. I was trying to create space. A lot of folks that I would say a lot of closed doors in that time where, who's this, this young kid with this digital camera and whatnot. And I was like, all right, fine. I'll make my own way around or through or over or whatever. But it was always like a chip on my shoulder. So I was always trying to be dope at whatever it was. If it was a fashion show, if it was a club event, if it was a step show, if it was whatever, a fashion shoot, I just wanted to be that. And then, like you said, you never know who you're going to meet. There's so many folks that were in that party space. Cause I always say, man, everyone celebrates something at some point. Even if you go out twice a year, it's your birthday and whatever. Right. And I met Hector for Ramos Records. He was out, just having a good time. He's like, hey, you shoot food. And I was like, yeah, never shot food a day in my life. And, I just had a camera around my neck. So obviously it's like, do you do that? I spent, the next 2 weeks in my kitchen, just shooting food photography, figuring it out. And then he was the marketing person with Azteca Mexican restaurant at a time. And I shot like 28 entrees over a weekend. And that was like their menu for 3 years. And it was just like, again, you just don't know. And then who you're going to meet, but then bring in that level of like professionalism and just being open to opportunities and stuff like that is wild how things happen in that way. Cause like you said, you just never know.
Yeah. Can I share another photography story?
Please do.
So this is something a lot of people might not know, but close to 50 years ago, my mom and dad, they opened the first Black-owned photographic portrait studio in this part of America. My dad went to Elizabeth City State as well. Me and Cun and Tune were all what you call legacy, I guess. And then he left there and he went to Brooks Institute in Santa Barbara, California, which at the time was one of the top photography colleges in the world. Graduated at the top of his class. Then he worked down at MGM for a while as a cinematographer. And then moved to Seattle. I was just little O, maybe just some months old. And here's where it gets interesting is that my dad, one of his first jobs here, he was a staff photographer for the Fax newspaper. And it was Mr. Fitzgerald Beaver, who's the owner of the Fax, who actually gave my dad his start and opening up Salisbury Photography. And at the time, I think it was called Salisbury Beaver Photography. It was a mixed name in it. And Mr. Beaver was like, man, you got these 4 babies. You know what I'm saying? You go do that, you know? And so like, man, I grew up little kid in the dark room and developing photos and this and that and everything else. I got such a love for photography, nowhere near as good or as entrenched as you. But I think in everything I've done in my career, there's always been a photo element that comes back to it. And so when people look at me or they look at my brother Kun, I tell them that it's like, man, media and all these different things, it's not on us, it's in us.
Literally.
Yeah, 100%. My mom is almost 80. I know she don't want nobody telling her age, but my mom still has a radio show. You know what I'm saying? Every week she does her radio show, and her show prep looks better than mine. Mm-hmm. These things, they don't even by accident, and you don't even realize it. And my son just graduated with a degree in multimedia journalism, and he's working making films now in Chicago. He graduated from Loyola University in Chicago. Yeah, man. So you can literally see like 3 generations.
That's a beautiful thing, and got to see all 3 of you guys together. That was awesome. You know, rest in peace. Prior to his passing, that was a powerful moment in the studio, and it's like legacy in action. One thing to that is crazy is my grandmother Margot's father came over from Jamaica and did photography in New York City, and that's what she grew up around. I didn't get a chance to meet him. He passed before I was born, but it's crazy to think how full circle it is. I have an auntie that's in video, Laura Jean, and to think of how that comes together. His name was Percy Rainford. And he had just some dope work back there. And it was kind of, there was actually a book that came out about him because he was doing photographs of DuPont, I think I forget the artist's name. But at that time, it was like Black folks wasn't getting recognition. And it was like this invisible photographer, this Virginia museum, this curator was like, man, who is this Percy Rainford person? Couldn't find any information. Or who was this photographer? First did the research, found some things, and ended up finding my mom on like LinkedIn or something. I was like, hey, are you related to this person? And went through that whole journey. They were going back and forth, and he ended up writing a book about it. And it was like, you know, this invisible work where he had did some things shooting Picasso and some random stuff, like doing some pretty dope things at his time and collaborating with some artists, but you know, again, not getting the recognition because of the time. And then how it goes full circle, where it's like literally like I was going to school for business. You know, I was like, I want to be a business consultant, this, that, the other, and I just got drawn to it. And then it was just like, all right, let me just kind of keep going, and it's kind of going where it's like it's in you, like. Regardless of, it's like, man, that's just something that just comes out. So that's dope to see and hear how some of these stories play out.
Yeah, and you know, when it really is in you, a lot of times that means that you're really doing something that you love or you're passionate about, or you got that extra battery that you can pull out. And to be honest with you, it's just been a blessing. I learned so much from my dad. It wasn't the technical stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You know, because he retired a long time, but he was still up on his game. But it was just more of how to tell a story through whether it's photo or through video, how to engage with your subject, or might be. Man, he passed along. Well, early days of the morning update show, I remember I sent him a shot of set. We were so proud. We had those soft boxes, lights pointing up from the ground, this, and that. And he was like, son, they only do lighting like that in horror films. You know what I'm saying? Just small thing. I was like, oh, okay, Dad. I learned so much. And so people ask me like, oh, did your dad teach this and that? And, you know, f-stops and shutter speeds and... Nah, but, you know, I think you can kind of learn that anywhere. Mm-hmm. You know, my dad used to say he was a photographic portraitist. Like people, and he also worked at Chase Studios in Washington, D.C., and that's where world leaders would come and get their actual photo. And so, you know, you see dignitaries, heads of state, you know what I'm saying, all of those things. My dad would always say that, man, there's nothing so devoid of beauty that it can't be captured with this lens. You know, and my dad told me the difference between, you know, picture takers and picture makers. Those aren't technical terms. Those aren't, you know, this, that setting. And so my ability these days to tell better stories, it was him. Before he passed away, he was like, son, continue to tell better stories, make the uplift real. And it's that taking every single shoot, every single thing you see, it's the level of care and attention to detail. That's really what I got from my dad. The level of, man, always be early, son. Be prepared to stay late, because you can't leave until you know that you've done a great job. You know, it was never, I just think about this now, it's never the technical,
Right.
but those are the things that take you so far in your career. You know what I'm saying? Especially these days, you can watch the DIY videos on YouTube and learn the in and out of every single camera there is. Yeah. But man, the heart of storytelling and the heart of, you know, imagine those days. It was one shot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and so the anticipation of knowing that on shooting on film, that look how many, we throw away thousands of photos, literally delete. But when you couldn't move like that, or you're dealing, like I said, with a world leader who's, hey, we've got 25 minutes for this. You have to get this shot right. Yeah. And the preparation, you know, being prepared. So anyways, so yeah. I miss that guy. Man, it was my best friend.
That's special. Like I said, those things that can't be taught, you know, like, I mean, obviously Canon, Sony, all these people, they're in the business to sell as many cameras as they can. So just by the sheer force of the business, everyone has a camera, right? And everyone, like you said, can learn how to do it. But what sets you apart? For me, I'm a big person on, like, I can give you the ingredients, but you still ain't gonna be able to make the sauce the same way that I am, because of me and what I'm personally putting into it. And that's how you gotta approach it.
Almost everybody in this city got better equipment than we do. You know, the cameras, when people watch Back to Besa, man, those cameras are 5 years old. Those lenses are 5 years old. This is what we're shooting Back to Besa on. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? In studio, those cameras are a bit newer. For the day with Trey, those cameras are about a year, maybe a year and a half old. But what people see us put on broadcast TV, on Fox 13, and now nationally on Fox Soul, first people should stop and think about that. We're shooting on equipment that's 5 years old. Almost everybody I bump into, I got way better equipment than Converge. Man, 100%. You know, and man, I be so encouraged by these, especially by the young guys. They're like, Big O, I just got Sony F35Q PC, do this and that. And man, I'm always so happy when they're explaining the camera to me, because I'm happy to see them happy and excited about it. But, you know, I think one of the things for anybody who's out there watching or listening to this, don't be afraid to start. Don't be afraid to start with go get you some used equipment. Don't sit on the sideline. Mm-hmm. Whatever it might be, man, don't wait. You know, what if we were like, oh, we got a new show with Fox coming and it's everything else, but man, we ain't got the newest cameras, so nah, we good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, man, we gonna take what we got to get what we need, man.
You know, absolutely. Like, you got a voice, all you gotta do is find a story to tell. And a lot of times you don't even need the voice.
So I'll tell you this. My daddy said, he said, son, you know, you're in this TV thing. And he was like, you know, just never forget that the story is right here, that these are tools. He said, because if you didn't have a video camera, you use a still camera. If you didn't have a still camera, you do an audio recording. If you didn't have audio recording, then you probably write it down. If you couldn't write it down, you'd remember it. You'd recite it. You know what I'm saying? And retell the story. You know, too many people are caught up on the tool. And it's unfair. Imagine how unfair it is that people are making the tool and a computer algorithm more responsible for the outcome of a story. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so I view a lot of stuff a bit differently because, knowing that the story starts here, and whether it's a black magic camera or a Sony camera or old school 110, hopefully I can make those shots count, you know what I'm saying? Or just recording, you know what I'm saying, in someone's voice or writing it down, it's the story is at the core. And I think sometimes we get away from that. We put too much pressure on the equipment. And it's the camera's job to tell the story. Nah, it's your job to tell the story. Oh man, well, if the algorithm, this and that, man, a great story could stay locked away 10 years from now. Never see Instagram, never see nothing. And someone press play and they're like, yo, that's where it's at. And so we've been fortunate at Converge to really, for the most part, be isolated from a lot of the things that people feel are pressures on them in storytelling and everything else. I mean, first and foremost, for me personally, my goal for the day is I make something every day. I shoot something every day, or I write a blog, or I take pictures every day. And my whole intention isn't to blow it up on Fox or to go national or to go viral or anything. Man, I just want to make my mama and my daddy proud and the people in my neighborhood. That's my goal every day. Some people wake up every day, and a lot of the influencers and this and that, man, I got to make a TikTok that's going to go viral, that's going to do this and that. Imagine the peace, the inner peace that I feel, that I know that it's like, you know what? This story right here is going to make my mama proud. This story right here, my dad, wherever he's at, and I know many days he's there in that camera as I hold it. It's going to make my daddy proud. This right here, people in the Central District are going to be like, yeah, our guy Big O made that. And so when that's my threshold for success daily, is to bring pride and joy to my small little community. You know what I'm saying? I'm not dealing with the pressures that some of these other people are dealing with, that it's like, man, I got to make 7 of these every day and go viral of X, Y, and Z. I go viral in my mama's heart every day when I make something. To me, that's dope. Even our shows, like our broadcast shows or syndicated shows, because we own the shows. We own Back to Base on Fox 13, and we own Back to Base on Fox Soul. Fox 13 and Fox Soul don't touch anything. You know what I'm saying? All we need to do is abide by FCC regulations, and also remember that Big Mama and them was watching, so don't put nothing too crazy on there. But there's freedom in that. Mm-hmm. There's freedom in being like, man, we're going to just deliver our Black joy stories the way that we want to. And so I get in these conversations and people are like, well, how are you guys managing algorithm changes and this, that, and everything else? And I don't say this in any kind of bad way. And I'm thankful for every single person who's ever supported us or watched our content. But because we're not making stuff for the world, we're just making it for us. Man, it's almost like it's a Teflon shield, It doesn't matter if it don't go viral. It doesn't matter if it didn't have X number of likes. It doesn't matter, because we're just telling stories from our heart. And you keep doing that day after day, you end up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those stories. Last year, Back to Base alone, we told 326 produced stories. 300 altogether for Converge, over 500 plus 5 films, because we just make something every day of high quality, by the way, because we got to make mama proud.
I love that. Something that always back in my head that you talk about is do everything like you would do anything.
How we do anything is how we do everything.
There you go. That shows up, day in, day out. Just to rewind a little bit, and then I want to get back to, what you guys are doing now and shine some light on that. But going back to, the episode 2, being in that Black Dot studio of those early days and some of those early intentions about that, and just kind of talking about that journey. But it was kind of rooted in, we got to help out the community. Like, we got to get the word out.
One of the best things is is that in 2019, Converge was, 2020, Converge was 4 years old. It was a lot of people because of the protests. They thought the Converge just started in the protests or something like that. We put in our hours. And people don't realize if you're in the spotlight and you sustain, lots of people get in the spotlight, but you're spotlight and you sustain. A lot of people just assume that it was just like, hey, this guy just showed up with a phone, started streaming, didn't even realize that I launched TV stations all over the world. And that's a whole nother episode we'll have to talk about. But Governor Inslee has shut the state down. And, as media, we were still essential, which was really cool that, we were able to serve a purpose. But going into the shutdown, you kind of see it was coming and things were changing. We were using our studio to kind of just make PSAs, recorded PSAs, and we put out. And up until that point, we'd actually had a bunch of podcast shows, kind of just like this right here. By King Garrett had the AC, and Treyana Holiday had Community Corner, and then my show was called The Check-In. But when the governor shut the state down, and then we saw how news was getting out. Now, news around COVID for anybody, any community, I like to say it was like taking a sip of water out of a fire hydrant. But for people in our community, especially, they would be like, hey, this grocery store has special hours for seniors. Or, if you need a vaccine, you can go here, or the vaccine wasn't out yet, but if you need a COVID test, you can go here. And we saw that there wasn't no information for our community. Just did something that we'd never done before at Converge, was like, let's just start a live show. Man, this show was so beautiful, by the way, because it was just us. It was our community. Now when we do something, we're talking to the world. Don't necessarily want to talk to the world. I'm still just happy talking to our community. It was crazy because I made a bunch of phone calls. It was Daryl Glover. We didn't have any kind of streaming software. And even though I'd done streaming years before, a long time before, I wasn't up on what was out right now. And Daryl was like, sounds like a good idea. You know what I'm saying? And I called you. And it's funny because if you have a vision, you don't have to know all the technical parts if you surround yourself with good people. And there was a lot of stuff that we didn't even have. I remember I was even telling you, I was like, yeah, I need batteries or something like that. And you were like, yeah, you should just, I remember you sent me a link to like where I could get rechargeable batteries. I wasn't even, it was just the minute things. You brought microphones, you brought all these kind of things I wasn't even hip on that we would need. I just knew that like we need to be able to tell our community what's going on. You showed up big. Daryl Glover showed up big. DJ Topspin, we had him coming. There's an entertainment section, and we're spinning G-Prez Aspie, and we went an idea over the weekend. By that next Monday or Tuesday, we had the morning update showing, and you even did the graphics too, yeah. The original flyer designs and everything for the guests that were coming on, and all of those things. And anybody who's been in media in Seattle before 2020 and they're still here, they'll tell you that the morning update show changed the dynamic of media in this city of Seattle forever, hands down. It changed the dynamic of it. But it started with purpose. Mm-hmm. And the purpose was to be of service to our community, something that we still just want to do. But, you showed up. And it was so many things. If people see this stuff now, the Black Media Matters studio, it's a nice setup. It's well balanced, put together, this and that. The equipment can stay there static. You know what I'm saying? The lights never move, maybe the furniture a little bit. But when we were over there on Jackson Street, almost everything had to get broke down every day. Set back up every day. Yeah. And it was so many things that we just didn't know. But, this is a good opportunity for me to say thank you to you, because I would just explain something. I'd been out of that game, TV, video, cameras for a long time. I didn't know anything outside of the basics. I need microphone, camera, this and that. And you came in with an abundance of equipment and know-how. And the best thing was just an amazing attitude of being, how can I help? Yeah, and that's why you were part of something that was transformational and historic in our city. And that's why your logo's there on the wall.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that's what it was about when I tell people about that time that weren't in Seattle proper around that. Like I had just got married February 20th, 2020.
Mhm.
And did we shoot after that or before that?
No, those pictures were in the episode you were on.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
we put a slideshow in that episode.
Yeah, we had just came back, and I remember we did one event like March 3rd with the Urban League. Then we started getting the phone calls. Oh, we're gonna push it a week or two. Let's just kind of see what this COVID thing is doing. We're doing contracts with casinos and everything. So the casinos is closing down. It's serious because they all the way tapped in. And it was just a real interesting time. And I'm just kind of one of those kind of people, I can't really sit on my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I just kind of, just trying to figure things out. So it was like, okay, when that phone call came, it was like, yeah, we got these cameras. They, our big thing was like, all right, what's this clean HDMI thing, and kind of figuring this out. And we had just happened to have the cameras that could do that. And it was just a big learning thing. But it was just the curiosity, and brought me back to my earlier C-Spot days of like, man, all right, I got this new thing in my hand, and let's figure out how we can make this work. And it was just an interesting time. And like you said, doing the graphics for the early show, I'm also doing graphics for local restaurants that have to. Oh man, we didn't have an online ordering system because we still got to do that. Restaurant
COVID menu,
but, let's figure this piece out. And there was no money. It was just like, man, what do you need? Like, how can I help?
Money
for me, go.
Like,
what I'm saying? It's like, let's just figure it out.
I say this to you because, like, we're just here, but I would never go on broadcast. No, it's our community who's listening, and that's why I feel comfortable. There's so many people in so many different categories who stepped up so big. And I mean, the biggest, and they deserve so much credit, of course, is like around food. You know what I'm saying? And the Deaf Chef was one of the people who really inspired me to be like, man, do it, because they had something there, a Yesler, I think it was him and Chef Tariq, and they just opened up. It was like, yo, man, anybody need food? Yeah. And so I went over there to amplify it, and he was like, man, big O, man, whatever your talent is, you know what I'm saying, move with it. And I only say that to say that it's like there was quite a few media, you know what I'm saying, who we just got out there, yourself, right, included, who was just, man, how can I help? What can we do? How can we use this media that we have at any level to be able to push a message, and and all those things. And when you mentioned that, I remember, man, there were so many businesses that you were like would just help out. Because some could stay open, but of course now their menu changed and it needed to be whatever, and they needed design on a new menu, or they needed a landing page now and everything else. And when I think about it, because you mentioned that, man, one, there was never the money, and I don't think that money even crossed the mind though. It wasn't even like, yeah, I know they ain't got no money, let's do that. It was just like, man, how can we serve you today? And I think that COVID was horrible, of course. But man, COVID really, you could literally see in black and white, man, people who rose to the occasion, you know what I'm saying, to be in service of others. And when people talk about a lot of relevancy, and of course I'm not saying that calling anybody irrelevant, but a lot of relevancy also became front and center of like, man, because your level of service also kind of equated to your level of relevancy of what it is that you're providing the community. And so a lot of stuff that was just social media chatter, and people were very relevant before COVID and this and that, they got quiet. And it was the people who were in the streets serving one way or another who are now the most relevant people that were online.
It was dope to kind of see that collective, like you said, it wasn't for the check, right? It was just kind of for the greater good.
It's greater
and
good.
That was able to keep you going and get see you through and be able to make that happen. So man, we went through all of that. For us, it was like, man, I got trained up, literally from the dirt, right, doing all that, and that opened up opportunities for me because now it's like, oh man, I got this on my resume now. I'm a live streamer, whatever that means. But we had, we worked with TSB, the service board, and UNCF. So it was that, I think it was like that September, and then the following February where they did a full virtual gala, right? And then we're able to help them out coming back into hybrid. And now we're doing full on in-person galas and sound systems and the whole thing, like literally started from that studio and that opportunity and just being of service. And then that just goes into that. And that's been a beautiful journey. And then here we are in the studio right now, telling stories and keeping it going. And I want to be able to tap in with some folks, know Converge at different points of where they were checking in. But where is it now? I know you, but just to let folks know, like, how can they tap in? I know we had this, I think it was like, oh man, I'm going to do this month-long Black Joy thing. And then like, I'm going to do this 6-week-long Black Joy thing. Hey, I'm going to do this 10-year Black Joy thing because these stories need to be told.
Converge right now, man, it's at a really special place. And I tell people all the time lately, I said something special is happening. So much of it is like, man, I feel my father's influence in the bed. My father was such a good man, and I feel his presence in so many things that we do. Right now, our big ongoing thing, it was only supposed to be a month, maybe 2, is our Support Black Business campaign. We're going to be at 6 months here pretty soon. And that was again, just being in service, sitting in the studio with me and Basic Gordon, Eric Calligraphy, and we're just all on different social media, and we're seeing that, man, our businesses and our community are struggling. And we be struggling too. But we thought about it, and it was like, it's a saying that if you ever jammed up and you can't help yourself, stand where you are and help someone else. And in doing so, you'll figure yourself out. And so we're like, well, man, if we ain't got no business, because it was tight for everybody, but we got all this production, how can we be in service? And just instantly, it was like, man, because we've always had Support Black Business as a category for Converge for years and years. But we flipped that into a campaign. The next day we shot PSAs, and the next day, we hit the streets. And so many businesses all up and down the I-5 corridor, we've had an opportunity to uplift and spotlight and highlight it, you know what I'm saying, and tell the world about them. And so Support Black Business is still going strong. And if you're a Black-owned business here in the Pacific Northwest, you go to whereweconverge.com /Support Black Business. Go to the website, tell us about it. You just might find Basic Gordon or Trey Holiday or Takia Ward or Deontay Damper right there trying to uplift your business, which is key, and that's important. And I think that another really big thing is when I talk about my dad is our emphasis now on telling better stories. That's kind of underneath our Converge Media Presents, but for sure, we got one of the best editing kind of workflows, edit workflows like in the city. We compete with the TV stations. We get it in and we get it out. But part of that telling better stories is now slowing down. So we have stories now where, we get in, we get out. These guys are masterful, our editors. They'll get a fantastic story in and out in like 4 hours, 5 hours. But now we're taking days and we're doing follow-up interviews here, and we're getting archival footage and all of those kind of things.
Just being more intentional about it.
Man, 100%. There's something special that's moving through us, and of course, Basis Show's doing well. Both of them, Fox 13, Fox Soul, Trey on a Holiday, just got an Emmy nomination for an intro for a show today with Trey. We Live in Color with Deontay Dampers back on in the season 3. Art of the Matter is getting ready to start in soon. And I don't talk about this publicly because I'm always uplifting our other people. And that's the most important thing that as a leader you could ever do is, man, look out the window to give credit and look in the mirror to take responsibility. But you would be proud of this. I picked up 2 Emmy nominations for this year as well. We'll see what happens.
Love it.
We're here God willing, we ain't going nowhere, and we just want to continue. They're always asking, well, what's the plan for Converge? I mean, the biggest plan is to continue to be a service to our community. The biggest plan is to continue to make Big Mama and them and our aunties and uncles and people in our neighborhood just proud of our work, and for them to feel seen and represented and heard.
No greater glory than that. I mean, you know what I mean? Making your people, your village, your community, your family. I saw that recent, your daughter came to visit. Like, how special is that? And here I am telling my daughter how proud I am of her in Black Media Matters studio. You know, like seeing stuff like that is dope. You know, I got my little 4-year-old baby Yoda.
Representing today. This is why, by the way, this is why I wore this Yoda shirt here today. It's a nickname for Carlos's son. It's my nickname. Give him Baby Yoda.
Yeah, his first birthday was Yoda themed, as it should be, right? Mandalorian, shout out. But yeah, no, just be able to do it for you, for them, for us is filthy. Yeah, no, it's funny when you hear those. What's your 10-year plan? Like, man, to do the same thing we've been doing. Doing it better, telling better stories.
That's it. When the bright lights come, and there's one thing. When people ask sometimes, they're like, "Well, man, why you guys got this TV show on Fox?" You know, and Fox is, of course, there's Fox News, which we all know, and then there's the individual Fox stations. But different TV stations in Seattle always want to do something with Converge. And, you know, we work with almost everybody in one way or another. You know what I'm saying? I think that, you know, across the board, we're all competitors, but we're all colleagues. But a lot of the other TV stations just wanted to partner with us around problems in the Black community. Oh man, we should partner and do a special about gang violence, or partner and do a special about, you know, what's wrong with Black folks. And Fox 13 was the only station that said that they believed in our Black Joy message. I said, man, we a Black Joy network. We're all about the uplift. They said, well, we believe in that, and we believe in your ability to be able to deliver that. You know, Fox 13, they said, we don't want to touch anything. You guys, you'll deliver the show the way that you want to deliver it, and you'll deliver your Black Joy messaging, you know. So I only say that to say that, like, our TV deals came because of who we are. Mm-hmm. Not like, oh, hey, we know how to do this or we can do that. And even out with the national stuff and everything else, that it's important. People come to Converge and see everybody's grounded. And we're not trying to change things. We're constantly trying to make things a bit better, but we're not trying to change who we are. Right. People used to laugh. They'd be like, oh man, you guys are making stuff 4 and 5 minutes long. You need to make it a minute long for TikTok. And I was like, well, I mean, I just probably won't ever be big on TikTok. Although now you can put 10 minutes there. Right. But, you know, staying true to who you are and your purpose, and you just believe it. And that commitment of every day just wanting to do and be your best, irregardless. I mean, man, if you stay committed, stay down, you know, ultimately your day will come. And, man, we're just looking forward for more and more days of those to come. But, you know, we're going to stay committed to our purpose and who we are.
Well, man, that's been a hell of a conversation. Thank you for joining us on episode 2. And again, here we are, Carlos Imani with the Elite Insights. My brother Omari Salisbury of the Greater Converge family in Elizabeth City and beyond. Hey. NBA Hoops. You know, watch the full episode for all those tidbits, and make sure to tap in with whereweconverge.com and support them and what they got going on, uplifting the Black community, telling Black joy stories, and all the above. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.